Thanks for tuning in with In24 interviews today. I'm Vicki A. Lee, and today I'm very excited about our guest. I am welcoming all the way from Albany, Georgia, King Randall. Thanks for joining us
Hey,
today.
what's
How are
going on? How are you?
you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
Awesome. Love your energy. It's very infectious. I'm very excited and very energetic about this as well.
Me too. Okay.
Awesome. All right. So in 2019, King established the X for Boys, and it is a mentorship program that educates and empowers boys in King's hometown of Albany. With Let Us Make Man as the guiding ethos, King teaches a cohort of young schoolboys fundamental skills, including reading literacy, auto repair, and home improvement. Under King's tutelage of positive masculinity, the boys are furnished with the pragmatic and intellectual skills they will need to become self-sufficient adults. So we found out about King through a viral Instagram video this week, where he was on the front lawn of none other than the White House. And he will tell us more about that later.
Okay.
All right. So thank you again for joining us today, King.
Absolutely. I'm very happy to be here.
And I'm very happy to have you. All right, so to start, can you please tell us about yourself and what motivated you to found the X for Boys program?
Okay. Well, my name is King Randall, as she stated. I'm 21 years old now. I began the X for Boys program at 19 years old. I began the program simply because the crime rate and the things going on with our boys in our community here in Albany, Georgia, was very disheartening. And a lot of our children here are in lack of a father. So I decided to take it upon myself to start a program where young men could have a father figure, somewhere they could live and have a safe space, and also teach them how to read, teach them skilled trades, because many of our children do not know how to do the simple things that men should know how to do. Well, things that I believe men should know how to do, as well as reading. Our reading comprehension levels are very low. A lot of the boys here just simply cannot read. And so sometimes we'll blame the children, for some of the decisions they are making. But I feel like, it's up to the men in the community to help steer the young men in the direction that they need to go. So this is why I began the X for Boys, because young men are wanting to get out of their condition. They want to learn something new. They don't want to, get into any trouble. They just need somebody to help assist them.
That's very remarkable. And you are very much a young man and still are when you started this. And it's very inspiring to see someone at just 19 years of age take on the mantle of community leadership. That takes a lot. And that is very, very inspiring indeed. And can you tell
Thank
us,
you.
oh, of course. And can you tell us what the name X for Boys means?
Okay, so the letter X means unknown. If you're doing
Hmm.
a math equation or something like that, the letter X means unknown. So the motto is "Let us make man." And so as a boy, being a man is unknown to you. So you come here to learn how to be a man. So X simply means unknown.
I really like that. And I was immediately thinking like the X factor, like what is the X factor? What's the secret ingredient that makes someone a very like valuable and a very good contribution to society? So that's a
Hmm.
very, I really like the X, that math metaphor. That is,
Hmm.
that's very
Thank
creative.
you.
I like that. And how many mentees do you currently have, and what's the age range of um, you people who you're mentoring, your people you're guiding?
Okay, so I do boys ages 11 to 17.
Hmm.
Right now I do 6 boys at a time in my home. I do 2 month periods. I do take more children whenever I do workshops and things like that. But as far as the children that live with me, I do 6 at a time because I have 3 bunk beds, so they sleep
Wow.
on the bunk beds here.
Uh-huh.
But as far when I do workshops and things like that, I invite all boys to be able to come out so I can get 20 to 30 children, at a workshop.
Wow.
But I have about 60 kids in the program altogether. And the more
Hmm.
people find out about us, of course, we get more and more children that are wanting to join.
That's amazing. And what is the selection process for
Hmm.
boys who are interested in joining the X for Boys?
Well, for the most part, I try to get children that are not able to afford to
Hmm.
be in the program. All of my workshops are free, my field trips are
Wow.
free. But as far as the children that live with me, it's a cost. But right now, I have so much support from people all over the country that they're actually sponsoring the children to be here. So
That's
I'm able to
amazing.
go get those children, especially from the juvenile court system here,
Wow.
for children that are, committing crimes and going to jail. My program serves as an alternative for the
Mhm.
court system to send children, to my program to be able to reform themselves. And every child that's come to my program from jail has never been back.
That is amazing. That is that's very inspiring, especially because it's going against that conventional path.
Hmm.
Because it's someone who is a community leader, someone who is a peer that I'm sure these kids could look up to, these kids aspire to be like, and it's easy to relate to you. It's not like a punitive authority figure who's telling them what to do, saying you're
Right.
wrong, this is bad. It's someone who is guiding them to be better, to reform, as you say.
And I think one of the biggest things I do for them is I emulate what I want to see in
Mm.
them. So I don't really
Mm-hmm.
have to, tell them not to do things. Like some of them, get caught smoking and things like that. But I don't tell
Yeah.
them what not to do. I just simply
Mm.
show them another way. So that way they don't feel like they're being chastised or fussed at or anything. I'm just simply showing them another way. And I discipline them and things like that. But I just simply emulate what I want to see in them. I'm 3 years out of high school. I just graduated, and some of them are in high school and middle school.
Yeah,
So it's easy for them to listen because, okay, this kid is
absolutely.
young.
Hmm.
He has a wife and child. He has his own home and things like that. So I can,
Hmm.
aspire to be like that.
Definitely. And it's a lot easier to listen to advice from a place of empathy as opposed
Hmm.
to like superiority. So I
Right.
think that's very important. And that leads to my next question. What do you think is the difference between what you do, like a peer mentorship, as opposed to conventional schooling? Because the X for Boys is, after all, an after school program. So it does take a very divergent path. I just want to
Hmm.
hear more about your philosophy about that.
Well, we're actually in the process of opening our own boarding school here in
Mm-hmm.
Albany, Georgia. But for the most part, I don't feel like I personally feel like boys and girls need to be taught separately, because
Right.
there are
Uh-huh.
certain things that boys and girls need to know separately.
Mm-hmm.
And in order for them to be able to learn how to be women and how to be men. For my boys, I always tell them that we don't include girls for ones because at their age, they're not thinking clearly when girls are around. And I used to be their age, and that's just being honest. I'm like, you
Mm-hmm.
can't think clearly when little girls are around. That's all you're thinking about are those little girls. You aren't
Yeah.
able to focus and things like that. But also with school, I feel like the public school system is not teaching, especially young men, what they need to know and how to navigate through life. I feel like the public school system is just for girls. And so
Mm.
if a little boy can't act like a little girl at school, then he's chastised. If he can't sit
Right.
down,
Yep.
for so long, oh, he needs to, get disciplined and things like that. But little girls can sit down and be still and things like that. Boys
Mm-hmm.
need to move. They're full of energy, full of testosterone. They have to go
Yeah.
do something. They need to talk. They need to move around. They need to go exert some of that energy.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like the public school system is perfect for little girls, but horrible for little boys, which is why boys are doing so terrible, in the public school system all around the country here in the
Yeah.
USA.
I really like that because, like you said, a lot of the times public school really fails to address the nuances of the different ways people learn. Because, like,
Hmm.
not everybody can go sit in a classroom. And, like, even girls, some girls are very, like, antsy,
Yep.
very energetic. They can't really sit in that environment where you're just
Hmm.
confined to a desk for X number of hours a day reading a textbook. And it's great that you incorporate so many different forms of learning and different ways of adopting skills. So
Right.
I also want to ask you, so you say it's very important to foster mental fortitude, and I really appreciate that term. And
Hmm.
you also need to combine that with hands-on practical skills, and you very much embody that in your program. So can you tell me more about this very well-rounded educational program you've devised?
Right. So, what I like to do is, of course, a lot of people who look from the outside always assume that I'm only teaching the kids skill trades because, as much as I do with the children, I don't post everything every day.
Mm-hmm.
They're staying with me, so I could have something to post all the time, but I don't, because some things I believe need to stay in the house, and the only things,
100%. Yeah.
right. So sometimes I post just for people because they want to see some positivity, and some people will. say that I'm posting for notoriety and things like that. But I've been doing this program for so long, and I just really started posting what we've been doing for the longest time, and what people want to see it. And so we've been getting support. So with that being said, I feel like the boys definitely need a mindset changing, because again, I can teach them skill trades all day, but if they aren't changing their mindsets, they're still going to go down the wrong path. So with me teaching them the skill trades and how to work on cars and houses and things like that, I feel like teaching them how to be a man and how to court a young lady, and how you talk, how you walk, how you stand up straight, how are you dressing, how are you presenting yourself to people, is super important. And so for a lot of people, they saw one of our pictures this past summer of the kids. They were actually in their suits. So if you look here, here they are in their suits, and a lot of people like this is on Twitter because they were so excited about what they were doing and how it looked. They was like, oh man, the kids are in their suits and it's so beautiful. So I just feel like, things like that are super important, because a lot of us don't take the time out to give our children that teaching. But a lot of women can't do that, for them. And I respect our mothers for bringing their children and saying, look, I've tried my hardest. There are some things I just can't do. He needs a man to teach him. Right. And so I show them, things like how to tie your tie, just simple manly things, changing a tire on a car, simple things that, I feel like, women shouldn't have to do. Things that we should be doing, for our women in the community, also protecting our women and children, because I feel like they don't feel safe anymore because there are no men around. So I feel like the men that I'm raising to go take back our communities and go buy back your buildings and go and marry women and actually take care of your children and things like that. All of this is important, especially in regards to their mental fortitude. Right. So just like teaching them skill trades, that's important, but also molding their minds is super important, because you have to get into their minds and not just teach them practical skills.
Very much agree with that. And that brings into the idea of positive masculinity, kind of going against the stereotypical traditional modes of manhood. So can you speak more about how you go against that mold?
In my personal opinion, I feel like, and I say this all the time because I work with young men who don't have fathers. I say that toxic masculinity is too much femininity, because a lot of men that do have toxic masculinity are simply mimicking their moms, and doing some of the things that their moms are doing, such as the bickering and the little small things that they shouldn't do that men don't do. So a lot of the things that I mold when the young men come to me is such as the talking back and the having something to say every time, I tell you to do something, and never stop talking, stop saying stuff back, all of that. It's just certain things that they learn, from home, and they can't help, especially my sons with more than one sister. They have a house full of girls and things like that. So they kind of act like that and they don't notice it. So for, them to have a man around, to teach them those simple things, it helps with positive masculinity. There is a such thing as balance. So if a young man is raised, his entire life by his mom, you may have some young men that may turn out to be good, being raised by their moms, but there are certain things that need to be fixed even with them, no matter how good they are, because they've been raised by only their mom and they're missing some masculinity in their life. So when I come and bring balance, a lot of the moms see so much difference in their children because they were able to live with me. I was able to walk and show them how to be a man, and they start to emulate me, not even noticing it. So I have to watch what I'm doing, all the time. I have to make sure I'm keeping myself, steady and positive and making sure I'm taking care of myself. So that way I can make sure that they're not making any mistakes. And so with that, I'm learning with them. So if I'm watching them the entire time and I see things that look like something that I may do and it looks like it's wrong, I fix that in myself. I'm like, okay, I shouldn't be doing that because they're doing it, and I won't notice that it's wrong until I see it on somebody else. Yes. So I'm like, okay, let me fix that, because I want them to constantly, grow as I'm growing. The more I learn, the more they learn. I'm 21. I don't know everything, but as much as I do know, I am going to try and teach them what I do know, and I'm going to grow with them.
That does take a lot to be pretty much like a walking, living example that you're setting for these boys. Like you're pretty much a template for them. Do you, on a personal level, ever feel a lot of pressure in that leadership role, having all these, like a whole legion of young men who are looking up to you?
I don't really feel any pressure because I feel like this is what I love to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only a job or work if it's something that you don't like doing. So I do
Right.
this full time and I love it. I don't feel any pressure because I know the role that I took on when I decided to, start this program. That's something I decided to take on. So I don't really feel any pressure. I take some self-care time. And most of the time, I feel even better about myself to see when the children are grateful for the teaching and grateful for me being in their lives and how they see me in their lives. It gives me more energy. So it relieves pressure when the boys are wanting, their siblings to come join and their cousins to come join, and they're wanting the kids in the neighborhood to come and join the program.
That's
That
lovely.
makes me feel better. Even if I may feel a little pressure, they take
Mm-hmm.
it off of me because I'm seeing the results in those children. So I can't let up because we're changing their lives.
Definitely. And what has been the overall community response to the X for Boys?
I mean, it's great for the most part.
Mhm.
Everybody's, really supportive of our program. We do have some people that, don't. I mean, that's just with anything you do.
Right.
You have some people that don't like me in particular because they say I'm too young to try to teach, boys how to be men, or I'm too young. Most of the time, it's just too young, too young, too young.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's kind of most of the thing I deal with is people, talking about my age. Some people may disagree with me politically, so they think that I'm trying to teach the boys, my political ideologies or
Hmm.
whatever. But I tell them all the time, I teach the boys to think for themselves. And
Absolutely.
and for us, politics isn't the most important thing right now. For one, because they're not even able to vote yet. So I'm teaching them
Yeah.
everything besides that right now.
Hmm.
And when they get old enough to decide for themselves, I take them to different kinds of events. We'll go to a Trump rally, then we'll go to a Biden rally. We'll do these things because I want them to explore and understand, not watch
Hmm.
TV and see what's happening, not go here and see what's happening. No, go for yourself, see for yourself, research for yourself,
Yeah.
because I think that's super important. And so for them, when we went to the White House, and they were
Yes.
able to listen to the president speak, and they've heard Biden speak before too, but they were just like, well, we like what Trump is saying better or
Okay.
whatever. But I can't get mad at them for that. That's something that they decided.
Hmm.
So but of course people make that political preferences so important that they can't even support children. A lot of people were upset that I took them to the White House, or upset that they were invited. And I told them, these children have never been anywhere. They've never been on a plane. They've never
Hmm.
been on a trip. So for them, their first trip to the White House to see the president, they could want to be the president one day. I'm not taking that experience away from them. So for you to think that I'm going to tell them no, after getting that invite, is absolutely ridiculous. So I do get a lot of flack from some people. Some people
Yeah.
think I do this just for notoriety, when they
Hmm.
don't understand that this program costs money to run. I've been running this
Yeah.
out of my house for 2 years, and I have a wife and child. I'm taking the time away from them, and I'm like, you think I'm just doing this for notoriety? I
Hmm.
could be doing many other things. I could, be doing something else, but this is what I love to do. So I have people, naysayers and things like that, but most of the community is in support of our program, but I just ignore the naysayers and keep moving.
Exactly. And that's all that really matters, to be honest, because you're creating material change, you're making tremendous differences in the lives that you're touching. And at the end of the day, that's probably what's most rewarding for you. Like the
Absolutely.
naysayers, your detractors, like what are they doing, right? Like are they
Exactly.
really
Exactly.
exactly? So
Hmm.
just yeah, it's great that you can manage to stay on track of what you want to do and just find yourself to even stay motivated
Right.
even in the face of pushback, in the face of controversy. So
Yep.
that's very admirable.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And I'm sure the boys were very excited to go to the White House because that is
Yeah.
a very rare opportunity. How many of us get to say we were invited to the White House?
Yeah, they were ecstatic, and I sent their parents the invite with their names on it so they could save it, and things like that, because
Mm-hmm.
that's something special, for you to, see your child's name on a White House invitation. That
For
was
sure.
beautiful, and so for them, that's probably they're the first in their family, to even go somewhere like that, to even go to DC, to even see the president, no matter who's in there. That was a big experience for them, and they had a blast. And they made lots of memories, took lots of pictures, and they'll never forget it.
Exactly. And you were saying in one of your Facebook videos that this could open a lot of doors for the boys too, because like maybe they'll be
Mhm.
inspired to be the next president or even a
Yep,
congressman. So it's amazing how these formative experiences could really alter the trajectory of your life.
absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Hmm. I also want to talk to you about your motto, "Let us make man," which is, after all, a biblical verse. And as you make very evident, faith plays a very important role in your methodology. So can you elaborate more on how that is incorporated into your mentorship?
Right. So I took my own spin. I like to say on the verse, let us make man. I know a lot of people say the us means the Trinity, us means, different things to other people. But for me, I decided to say, well, the let us and let us make man means that I should be helping God make men. That's for me, assisting God with making men. So I feel like, what I'm doing is definitely biblical. But that's because that's the way I decided to look at it. I decided to look at it and say, hey, this is God's call to me to say, I need you to help me, make men in our community. So that's what I decided to do. And one of our uh, big phrases that we came up with is called big boy faith. And the reason I came up with that is because a lot of things that have happened for our program has simply because have happened because of our faith. And even with us opening our school, our White House invitation, you name it. I always tell the boys, if you believe in something, if you just simply believe, it'll happen. If you're not able to do it, yourself, God will make it happen for you. So what's been happening is, like with our school, the beginning of this year, people kept asking, well, what's next for the program? And I kept saying, well, I'm going to open a boarding school for our boys. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't have any money to do it. But we're going to make it happen. And I just kept saying, well, we're going to open a boarding school in Albany for our boys. It was a constant thing. I kept saying it over and over again. And one day I posted, what we did on Twitter, and we went viral on Twitter with some of our work that we have been doing. And so we started getting an outpouring, of support. And people were begging us to make a GoFundMe page. I hadn't even made a GoFundMe. People were like, can you please make a GoFundMe page? We really want to, see you guys open this school. So I made a GoFundMe page, and within the first week, we were always almost at $20,000. And then it just started growing and growing and growing from there. And so people have been showing us outpouring of support, and now we signed a contract on our new building.
Wow.
And we'll be in it in December. But also, even with the White House invitation, every time one of my boys get here, I always ask them to write a list of things that they want to do. No matter what it is. I don't care if you want to go to Mars, just write it down and we'll make it happen. And so one of my boys wrote that he wanted to go to the White House. And I said, well, I don't know how we're going to make it happen, but we're going to believe and we're going to figure it out. We're going to make it happen before the end of the year. Lo and behold, White House invitation, simply because we believe, so amazing. Our big boy faith, bears witness for us because we see it work. So that's why we just got us a shirt made with the big boy faith on there. We just released it on our website. So we really believe in that. The boys also know about the big boy faith. We talk about it all the time because when they see me move mountains, I like to say every time I say something, you ask the boy, they say, every time Mr. King say something gonna happen, it always happens, because I believe in big boy faith. So not no small faith. We believe in big things happening for us. So that's how we've been operating.
I really admire that. And that was probably one of the first things that really caught my eye, the big boy faith. It really packs a very powerful punch. And it could be transferred in so many areas of your life. And I really admire how you not only speak things into existence, you actually take action. You plan, you're proactive. You're not just passively hoping for something to happen. You do things. Yeah, you do whatever's necessary to get yourself from point A to that desired point B.
Absolutely.
So that's very remarkable. So I also want to ask what some of the local initiatives you have been up to recently. I know it's been quite a challenge to get yourself out and about in light of the pandemic. So what are some community outreach projects that you and the boys have been up to?
Well, right now, of course, we do our workshops, free workshops for the community. But as far as giving away food and things like that, right now I'm partnering with a friend of mine. He does free food in the community. Wow. He has this community refrigerator that people just can come donate food to, and people who don't have any food can just come and get food from the refrigerator. And also we go to our local apartments and things like that where people, don't have a lot of food, and we, put food in reading boxes down for people to grab a book and also grab food. But right now we're actually about to donate a new refrigerator to another feeding initiative in Sylvester, Georgia. It's probably about 15 minutes away from Albany.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to donate a refrigerator to go there for more free food for people. So that's kind of what we've been up to lately. It's just we've been moving around so much, so we try to make things happen, behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Because we have so much going on within our organization. It's kind of hard. So we try to partner with other people when they're doing initiatives. Because I always say, I feel like organizations should be partnering together. Everybody should be doing like trying to do the same thing when we can just partner up. Like even for Thanksgiving and things like that, we don't do any like type of food giveaways because we simply go and join other groups that are doing things. I remember I got into a friend of mine last year for Thanksgiving because there were like 3 different like Thanksgiving food giveaways, but all of them knew each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, why didn't you guys just come together and do like one big food giveaway instead of having people having to drive all over town, and y'all could do all the same event. You just everybody come together and do one Thanksgiving thing. So that's why when people ask me, well, what are you doing for this and that? Well, we're going to join this organization and go help them with what they're doing because that's what's needed.
That's amazing. And it's a great way to impart to your boys the power of teamwork, the power of collaboration.
Absolutely.
Because when you get into the real world, even though in school you're taught to work on your own, and sometimes you have group projects, but largely you're fending for yourself. But in the real world, a lot of times you are put into situations where you have to collaborate and work with people you're probably not familiar with. So this is a very good way to open the boys to that universe at this age.
Right.
So that's great. I also really like the idea of feeding the body and the mind as you do with the food donation and the reading box. I want to talk more to you about your reading book club. I am a big fan of literature. I studied it through uni. So I want to know what you and the boys are reading and if it would be great to compile even a book list for our audience as well.
Well, when we first started the book club, we were doing the book Letters to a Young Brother by Hill Harper. And we had put the book club on pause, after the everything happened with the coronavirus. So we were in the middle of reading that book. I had just started it actually. And we were probably maybe about 12, 13 weeks in because we would do 1 chapter per week because we were doing it once a week for children, after school, their parents would drop them off at our book club location and we'd read our book there. And so we'd do it once a week. And of course, during after we read that chapter, I give them a full, lesson on some of the words in the book. We get a full definition on the words that they didn't understand. We'd also eat, I give them a sex education class. It just depends on what was taught in the book that week. And Letters to a Young Brother by Hill Harper, it covers every little area of being a teenage boy. From even having a single parent to your attitude to people talking about you at school, just every little area. That's why I love that book. And I honestly thought about making that book the book club book, where we constantly go back over it again and again because it's so beautiful in how it helps the teenage boy. But I think I would keep it for a certain age group. And then for other age groups, we do like finance books and things like that, because I really want them to understand how to, work with money, because a lot of our children like never come into contact with any money. And then when they finally get some money, it's like it burns out of their pocket because they have to spend it on something, know. So I have to make sure I keep them with money in their pockets all the time so they can get used to it. Because I always tell them, if you have money to flash and money to show, then you really don't have any money at all. Because people who have money, we got credit cards and debit cards and stuff, So if you got to flash money, you were kind of showing me that you're broke because you don't have to show me the money that you have.
Yeah.
But so it's just little small things you have to teach them. They don't know, so that's why, again, the program is really important.
Absolutely. And financial literacy is very important. When I was in high school, that's only when they really started introducing the idea of teaching you how to budget and manage your money. But previous generations, they didn't really have that sort of training. So it's really good that you're inserting that right into the program. And yeah, I'm sure it's good to have that practical experience of actually managing money that you have. So it's not as hypothetical and theoretical as it is in the classroom.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I also want to speak to you about your maiden voyage with the X for Boys. You went to Atlanta to the National Center for Civil and Human Rights. Why was this foundational trip so important?
So most people who know me from my city, I used to go around to our different community meetings and I'd talk about some different things that we could do to help our community. And this was before I began the X for Boys. So I would talk about a lot of things that we could do. And a lot of people love to hear me talk about different things in the community, but nobody really wanted to do any work. And I was kind of getting frustrated because I'm just like, well, you're saying you like my ideas, but let's go out and try to do some of these things. But it never, nobody ever really budged. Everybody just wanted me to come talk here and talk there, but I didn't want to talk anymore. So I decided what I was going to do after that was I decided I was like, well, I'm going to take 20 young men on a trip. I was going to make a little flyer on my phone and put it on Facebook and see how many people I could get, to come on the trip. So I was like, well, I'm going to take them to the Civil Rights Museum in Atlanta. And so I got those 20 kids and I took them to Atlanta. And while we were there, to see the children that, were there want to learn and want to hear something new and want to get out of their condition, that's where I knew our communities could change, because in 5 to 10 years after teaching those children for so long, those will be the children that will be our new judges and new lawyers and new doctors and new mayors, and new everything, in our communities, because we can teach them how to change the narrative, for young Black men in our communities. Show them, how to not, commit crimes and things like that, because with them having missing fathers and missing father figures, they're going to keep doing the same things, and the cycle is going to continue because nobody's working with them. And I say all the time, nobody really listens to teenage boys because we don't have any major programs here. I'm the only program we have in our city in regards to keeping children out of jail and aimed at, teaching children how to change their mindsets. And I'm only running it out of my house, and for our crime rate to be so high in Albany amongst our young men, ages 17, 18, 19, and 20. So many children I call them children in jail for murder and things like that, and robbery and all of that. And nobody is having any major programs. So I was like, I don't care if I got to run this out of my house. We're going to make it happen, because our boys need the structure and they need the discipline, and they want the structure and discipline. They want to get out of their conditions. People think that the kids are bad and things like that. But what I'm telling them is, I'm like, they're not bad. They want to get out of their condition. They want somebody to teach them. Because if I have children coming from jail and I'm teaching them simple things and showing them how to be a man, and I'm not having any problems out of them, they're bringing their school grades up and things like that, simply from just this simple program. Why can't you go pick up a child one day and just take them to school every day and say, talk to them every day, keep them uplifted and things like that? We have so many men in our community with no children. And I'm just like, why aren't you trying to take control of one child that doesn't have a dad? It doesn't have to be 6 or 7 or 20. It could be one, and you don't have to feed them every day or nothing like that. You can just simply take them to school, call them every day, send them a text message, just any small little thing that'll, help a child. So if we all could, get up and do something for our kids, that's what I think would help. And that's why I kind of decided to take them on that field trip, because I'm like, we can do something. It could be anything. It took me nothing to make a flyer, put it on Facebook, go rent a van, take those children to Atlanta and bring them back home. That was the most simple day that I planned for those children. I'm just like, anybody could do that. We have to want to help our kids.
I find that very inspiring, especially in the face of your detractors who say you're too young, like you're too young to be a leader, but you are showing through your actions that I can do it. And it's because you do come from that place of pure empathy and compassion that makes the boys so receptive to you. And I really appreciate that you put your position into such good application and good use.
Thank you.
Thanks. I also want to talk to you something about something very interesting. So after that trip, you took those boys on a ceremonial haircut of sorts. And as we saw in that picture earlier, the X for Boys are always dressed to the nines. They're very, very sharp, very ready to go. So can you speak more about the importance of appearance and self-presentation?
Well, a lot of people where I live, they also, I have a lot of arguments with people about how I teach the boys about appearance. Because people think, in their opinion, that, the boys should be able to just do whatever they want and dress however they like to dress and look any type of way because nobody should judge them. And I was like, I absolutely agree with you. I do. I would love to just wear whatever I want and look every way I want to, have tattoos all over my face, and because nobody should judge me. But that's simply not the case. We're in a society where people do judge you based off your appearance. And I'm not saying completely change, who you are, but you can tighten up what you are, and who you are. you can simply just make it a little bit more neat. You know, you don't have to, you can have tattoos, just don't get on your face, you know, don't get any like major stuff. You can have, you know, your hair, you know, growing out. Just make sure you keep it clean, make sure it looks nice, you know, make sure you look presentable. You can wear your crazy colored shirts and things like that. Just make sure it looks, make sure it's iron, you know, just little small stuff. People have to, you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
understand. I can't allow them to sag their pants and allow them to wear beat up clothes and things like that, because that's what the rappers do and all that. They don't live our lifestyle every day. We have to come into contact with the police. We have to come into contact with people, even racist people who, you
Yeah.
know, just judge you based off of your appearance. And so you have to look neat. That's why I tuck my shirt in, you know, and I wear nice jeans and things like that, because I'm going into a society where people do judge, and people
Yeah.
try to say that they don't judge, but you do judge. Everybody judges, you know, when you see someone. Like even when I asked the guy, he was talking about judging people. I said, so when you walk down the street and you see a guy with a hoodie on walking up to you all slow, he may not have any intentions, but you're
Yeah.
just gonna automatically get scared because that's just the society we live in. But I could be in a suit and be your worst nightmare. So I definitely understand what you mean by judging. I'm like, but at the same time, you have to carry yourself a certain way, because everybody judges, you know, a book by its cover every time, no matter how much we shouldn't, we do. So I tell them about appearance all the time. Make sure you're bathing. Make sure you're, you know, keep your face, you know, clean and shaved, and, you know, whatever. If you do have a beard, just make sure it looks nice. You know, if you have hair, please keep it clean. You know, keep it washed, keep it neat looking, and things like that. Because kids start not caring about their appearance, and then that just goes to show they don't care about anything else. Even when how they shake somebody's hand, looking them in
Yeah.
their eye, how do you say your name? You know, it's a lot of stuff that small things that need to be honed with our children, because people don't take them serious based off of how they present themselves.
Absolutely. And a lot of these factors are interconnected too. If you think about like your appearance, if you're wearing sweatpants all day, you're gonna be in that mentality like I'm lounging, I'm lazy. You're not gonna
Mm-hmm.
feel as good about yourself. But when you're
Yep.
dressed in a very sharp suit, well tailored, you're like, look at me, I'm ready to take on the world. I'm a
And that's how it
professional.
is. That's
Yeah.
exactly how it is. When the boys put the first suits on in that picture, when they first put their first suits on, they never worn a suit a day in their life. But when they
Wow.
had it on, they was just like, man, I feel good. Like I feel like money. I feel like this. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I'm about to go run a business. Like I'm like, and that's why it's so important for you to make sure you feel good about yourself. They never felt that feeling to put on a suit. They saw me in a suit before, but they never felt the feeling of putting on some nice looking clothes
Yeah.
and going carrying yourself like a man, like a gentleman, you know, or whatever. So it's just little small things like that that I feel like our boys just need to know, especially in regards to appearance.
Absolutely. And that's very much radiated from the images you've shown us. And
Yes,
it does
ma'am.
make all the difference because when you feel good, you feel empowered, you feel confident, you feel like you could
Hmm.
take on even like a daunting task that you didn't think you could accomplish. So that's
Right,
great.
absolutely.
hmm So your community involvement isn't limited to just the X for Boys. And this March, you also spearheaded the I Am a Man March in your hometown, Albany.
Hmm.
So tell us a bit more about what that initiative was, what that meant for you.
Well, for me, Albany, Georgia, if people don't know the history of
hmm
here, Dr. King came here before during the civil rights movement, and he always said he'd never return because of the mindset of the people here in Albany. So this is one of the cities Dr. King, quote unquote, failed in.
I
And
see.
so before Dr. King died, he was actually about to lead the I Am a Man march that was going to be in Memphis, and
hmm
he was killed before that, so he never got a chance to really lead the march. It still went on, but he didn't get to lead it. So I took it upon myself to say, well, listen, this is the city where Dr. King failed at. This is a city where our black men and our men in particular need to stand up.
hmm
So I decided I was going to rebirth that march, you know, here in Albany, Georgia, and it was successful. We had about 300 men show up
That's
from out of
amazing.
town,
Wow.
from different places. People drove from Orlando, Florida, like just it drove from everywhere, you know, to come be a part of the march, and it was so beautiful to see. It was a beautiful experience, and I definitely feel like it was an amazing experience, and a lot of my boys were in awe because of what
Yeah.
happened. One of our local artists drew, he painted some pictures of me after the march, and so some of my boys actually, their parents actually got the artist to paint some pictures for them, and a lot of my boys actually have a painting of me on their walls at home.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. So that tugged a lot of my little heartstrings to see
Oh,
my kids on Facebook with paintings of me, you know, on their wall, because they're, you know, they were so excited to meet me. Some kids who had never been in the program, They never seen me before. And they saw me at the march. Their dads brought them out to the march, or their moms, brought them to the march, and they got a chance to meet me, and they thought I was just like this super cool guy. So it was awesome to see those children, look up to me, and to even just see that march that a young man, I was 20 years old at the time, and the young man you was able to lead, and you can go do the same thing. You can go be greater. And that's my thing. I want my children to be greater than I am. So when my children that I'm teaching turn 20 and 21, if people think I'm great, they're going to be astounded by the children that are coming through the X for Boys when they turn 20 and 21.
Absolutely. And speaking of the future of the X for Boys, you do have a lot of very exciting projects coming up. Could you speak more about your boarding school that you just signed the deal on for the building?
Absolutely.
Congratulations. That's very big.
Thank you. So we're actually trying to start a boarding school in Albany, Georgia. It's going to be called the Life Preparatory School for Boys. So with that being said, the school will be, of course, they will live there. It's a boarding school, but also they will be learning all the skill trades. They will also be doing regular class work such as STEM. And they will be learning the basics as well as doing things, that men need to learn how to do. They will also be taking field trips and going, and exploring places and things like that. But they'll be learning heavy machinery, such as forklift driving, welding, all of those things, because it's super important. And they will also be doing dual enrollment with our local school, Albany Technical College. So that way they can graduate with their associate's degree whenever they leave my school. And this is a technical school, so they will go there and learn with their hands as well. But I always feel like that every child, when they get out of high school, I always said I feel like they need to go to a technical school first for 2 years before they ever go to a university. And I feel like that's important for our boys in particular, because they don't know really what they want to do yet. A child's decision-making part of their brain is not finished until they turn 25. So I always, as parents, you should tell your children a few areas that they could go in, but I don't think you should just allow them to make that decision on where they're going to college, because they're not knowledgeable enough to even know what's good for them yet. And I always tell my boys, you're not grown until you turn 25. And they was like, well, what does that mean? I'm like, because your decision-making part of your brain is not developed until you turn 25.
Absolutely.
I still call my mom and consult her for a few things. I call my dad and ask him a few things, because I'm not an adult yet in science. In science, you're not an adult until you turn 25. So certain things and certain decisions that I have to make, I have to call, and get consultations from mentors and things like that, because that's what I need. So I always say, our children need people to help make certain decisions for them. Because they're not old enough to make certain decisions yet that it's going to be best for their futures, because we'll allow them to, turn themselves into something bad, or let them go down the toilet, as I say, because we allow them to make a bad decision. Some decisions we have to, make for our children. But with the boarding school, it's going to be beautiful. It's a nice building. We have a lot of work we need to do to it, but I will be taking everyone on social media through a journey with us while we're creating our school. So you will see us painting, you'll see us pressure washing, you'll see us doing the roofing, you'll see us painting on the inside, pulling up the floors, cleaning up everything until that building is ready. And we will have a big banquet for all of our donors, and everybody who supported us. We will invite them on to Albany a month ahead of time to come to the dinner and actually come view the school in its finished state. So that way people can see, what they donated towards, and they can feel good about it themselves. And of course, the boys will feel real good because they got to create their own school. So that'll be beautiful for them.
That is very exciting. And I really like how you are mapping the whole journey for your followers, for people who have contributed. And it's great that the boys are actually getting their hands dirty. They're literally helping build the school as well. So they're very much involved, very deeply involved in that process. Another thing that I really appreciate about what you said is, as a leader, you're not afraid to admit that you sometimes need help as well. And that humility really resonates with me, because as a leader, you think, like I have to set a good example, I have to be perfect, like flawless for these kids. But to be able to demonstrate that you can ask for help when you need it, that is also a very important skill too, because human beings are fallible. We make mistakes. So being able to acknowledge that is a very important skill as well. And it's a lifelong skill. It's not just when you're at 25 That'll
Right.
be forever. So that's great.
Absolutely.
So another very exciting thing, and I know you have to keep a little bit hush hush about this important development, and it's very exciting. I want you to say it. What's the exciting deal that you recently landed?
Right. So the boys have the Extra Boys has landed a sneaker deal. I
So
cannot
cool.
release with what company or anything, but we will have our own colorway as well as our logo on the
Wow.
shoes, and we'll be able to sell them, and we'll be able to make profit, for our school building, and also everybody gets to get some cool Extra Boys gear.
Yeah.
So along with those shoes, we'll probably do some outfits to go with it. We'll do some jogging suits, maybe some Letterman jackets. We'll also do some wristbands, etc. We want everybody who wants to support our program and wants to show off our cool logo and things like that. We'll have all of that merchandise for you on our website. But the boys have landed a sneaker deal. The shoes will be released in the coming months. So please just stay tuned on social media. Keep up with the Extra Boys website, and you'll see soon.
Definitely. We will have all of the details listed. And what are some ways those of us at home can get involved with the X for Boys? So as you know, most of our audience is Canadian. So what are some things that people abroad can do to support this wonderful program?
Right. Well, for the most part, I have a lot of people that do know how to do things. And I always want the boys to learn something new if I don't know how to teach it. So if you're able to teach the boys anything, if you're like a banker or something like a realtor, if we can do a virtual class with the kids, that'd be awesome. You can just go to the xforboys.org, go to the contact us page, and you can type in, what it is that you do and what you may want to teach the boys, and we can get something set up through there. It may take a day or two because we do get a lot of messages on there, so I have to go through them one by one and check them all. So I will be able to check them, as time goes by. So probably about 1 or 2 days response time, and we'll be able to get, you guys to be able to do something with our kids.
That is wonderful. That's a great way to get involved. And of course, if you are able to financially support the X for Boys Preparatory School, our GoFundMe link is listed here as well. If you could give us a helping hand and make a difference in these boys' lives, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
All right. So in closing, what are some future initiatives or anything that you envision for the future for the X for Boys? Do you think your current proteges will become mentors?
Well, for right now, the biggest thing is our middle school campus that we're about to open now. And the next thing we'll be doing is opening our high school campus. We do have our eyes on another building that's about 45 minutes away from Albany, Georgia. It's a full high school, has 2 football fields, tennis court, well, 3 tennis courts actually. It has a softball field, baseball field, big, gigantic school, sits on 64 acres, bigger than all our high schools here. We're wanting to purchase that building soon. So like I told the boys, we got big boy faith. We don't know where the money's going to come from, but we're going to get it. So we went to tour the school. We went to tour it, and we looked at it. So that's going to be our high school campus. I've already claimed it. So it's going to be our high school campus whenever we are able to get it. And right now, I just want to make sure that the boys are working on their middle school campus right now, making sure they're doing their work. And kind of right now, we're just taking it easy and, being patient and doing our work.
That is incredible. Thank you very much for everything today. Thanks for giving us your insight and really showing us what it means to be a positive community leader who leads by example and not just by words. So thank you very much for joining us today, King.
Thank you.
Awesome. So to our viewers at home, if you want to keep up with what the X for Boys is up to, you could follow them on their social media and their website listed below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to INN24's YouTube channel for more uplifting community news. I'm Vicki A. Lee with INN24 in the heart of it. Thanks for joining us today.